It is the year 2472, and the Earth has suffered a great calamity. Hundreds of years of popular culture have vanished. Without the sacred films and texts for guidance, civilization is devoid of anything cool. Then, 3 incubation chambers are unearthed, and from within, men from the time of the great blockbusters emerge. Now, through highly interesting conversations, they share invaluable insight about what once was. The movies, the shows, the comics, toys, and books. This is
The Hyperspace.
Podcasting in the 25th century.
Welcome in, podcast pioneers, to the hyperspace. Podcasting in the 25th century, the interweb's first and still only podcast. My name is Jared.
My name is Matt.
And Mike, sadly, could not be with us. However, the next voice you're about to hear sounds nothing like Mike, and that's good. Please welcome back to the show our pal, Lindsay. Lindsay,
Hello.
welcome back.
Hi. Thanks for
Hello.
having me back.
Oh, thanks for being back. If you guys have heard Lindsay before, she is a dear friend of ours who we've worked with in the past, and is an avid Star Trek junkie. So I can't wait for this discussion tonight.
She
We've kind of been
Yeah.
waiting for an opportunity for this.
Yeah, and previously, Lindsay appeared on one of our Carbonite Chronicles episode with the Book of Boba Fett.
That's right.
But in that episode, she confessed that Star Trek is her first and dearest love. So we thought, what better time to have her back on the show than to talk about Star Trek?
I'm so excited.
Specifically,
When you texted me today.
specifically, the best Star Trek villains.
Yes. We're going back and forth, and Mike I'm not going to divulge where Mike has been, but I think he got turned into a Borg. So
Look at that. Look at his scar.
So,
And he had a-
so, it's funny to me because, Mike is obviously being transformed into a Borg, which is ironic because here in the 20th century, I mean, just like in the 20th and 21st century, 7-Elevens, every corner has a Borg coffee and assimilation center. So
That's true.
I mean,
That's true.
he could have gone anywhere and had this done professionally, but he took like the Minority Report kind of version and went little like back alley, I think.
Oh, okay. Is that why? Yeah. He was sending us
Oh
pictures
my God.
of a tube. He has a tube coming out of his, like, behind his ear.
Drainage.
And yeah,
tube.
it's full
Oh,
of
no.
it's full of it's full of blood. And anyway,
So we wish him the best. He's
we-
recovering now.
yes,
Yeah,
we
I
hope
hope he's okay.
he I think he will be. Yesterday he said he thought his ear might fall off. So
Oh, no. Oh, no.
so yeah, the Borg came
Get a
to
robot.
Some
mind.
Get a
Borgs
Borg-
have-
Get a Borg ear. Be fine.
Yeah, some Borgs have ears and some don't, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, of course. So, but yeah, we're going to talk about Star Trek villains.
Yeah.
Now, Star Trek it's kind of a franchise, ironically, that's defined by its villains in a certain way, because even with this future that Gene Roddenberry projected where everyone would get along, I saw a funny meme one time that said Star Trek's future is a future where everyone lives in peace and cyborgs try to kill you every other week.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the truth, because a lot of the most exciting episodes and movies in Star Trek history have involved a very strong antagonist. So we'll just get right on rolling here. So Lindsay, since you are our guest, why don't you kick off the discussion? What is your favorite? One of your favorite. I mean, this doesn't have to be in any order. Maybe you save your favorite for last. But what's a villain of note in the Star Trek universe?
I was thinking about it today, and I think I talked about last time I was on Voyager was the first Star Trek that I watched and got me into
Yes.
Star Trek. But my favorite series is actually Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
And I think part of that is because the last, 4 seasons of the show is all about the Dominion War and
that's right.
the changelings and the Jem'Hadar. I don't remember. What
Yes,
Yeah,
Jem'Hadar.
that's right.
them and the Wayuns, the like 8
Yeah,
different
the
Wayuns, like
they're like the jellyfish head people that have the gills.
That's played by the actor who also plays the blue tentacle guy in Enterprise. What's his name?
Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs. So he plays he plays all of them. And they just have they have the like
he's a
big
great
bad
actor too.
He's so good. He's we have the big bad changelings, or like the big the brain of the organization, and then the Jem'Hadar are really great, like just scary soldier guys, and then the like Wayuns are really funny, but it all works really well together. I just loved all, and then you have the Cardassians, who are space Nazis, basically.
Yeah. Well,
also suck, but
there's
a lot of good villains in that show.
They the Cardassians kind of become the puppets of the Dominion.
They do. You're right.
They get subjugated pretty quickly, and I tell you that's why Deep Space Nine is one of my favorite Star Trek TV shows ever. It really found its stride in its later seasons and started doing this serialized story that wasn't normal for Star Trek in those days. It was very episodic, and this had a thing where it just continued week after week. It just picked up from where it left off, and there was a lot of resistance to that from the the powers that be, because they were like, no, this is syndication. We got to have these self-contained bottle episodes you can air anywhere. But they did this, and I think it paid off handsomely, especially nowadays in the age of streaming, where you can you binge things. Deep Space Nine. Did. Yeah,
that's what I did for that because I didn't watch Deep Space Nine when it was on, because it was like not. I was a kid. It was on reruns, so I didn't catch if you miss any of it, you do kind of lose the plot, because even though they were telling them maybe not to do that, they were doing it anyway, and it's really good. So I binged it all as an adult when it was streaming, not like a young adult, like in college when it was streaming. And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Why did I never watch this? And I think out of all of those, I was like just the races, but I would say my actual favorite I think it's Dukat, because he's
cool.
Nuts. He's a really great actor. And like that character's just crazy, and him and Kira, like you almost think before the show's over that maybe he's gonna learn, maybe he's gonna turn it around. You just like him, but he's so terrible, but he just never does.
To tack on to what you're saying about how that show became very serialized, I was like a reluctant Deep Space Nine watcher when it came out, because it was completely not what I was expecting from Star Trek. You're sitting on a space station. It's not going anywhere. I found the Bajoran kind of plot line a little boring after a while, and nothing was happening on that space station that kept me really interested, but I still watched because it was Star Trek. And you're like, I guess it's better than no Star Trek. But to Lindsay's point, once the Dominion War started, that show completely changed for me. It became so much cooler and so much more exciting. And every episode you look forward to it. You're like, oh, what's going to happen next? Because they drag you along. And I'm glad I watched it when I did. You can binge it now. I'm jealous of everybody who can finally binge that show, because I'm sure watching it that way is phenomenal. But at least I had been watching it and I didn't jump in halfway through that season. So I was really on board and I really enjoyed it. It's definitely not my favorite Star Trek show, but the Dominion War was definitely one of the highlights.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great starter, the Dominion.
Yeah. Well, let me take it then. And
sure.
Just like the Dominion War, a show that was probably, I'll be honest, I am not watching any new Star Trek. I watched the first season of Picard, but I'm just not watching any new Star Trek right now. I think I will at some point, but I have not ventured into it. I'm just too pure. I can't sell myself that way.
I'm watching it, but am I enjoying all of it? I don't know.
So I'm going to talk about the show's probably on the bottom of everybody's Star Trek list, and that's Enterprise. So Enterprise, I didn't love, but when season 4 hit and they were fighting the Xindi, and
that was season 3.
Oh, 3. I'm sorry, 3. Yeah. And they fought the Xindi, and it was only 4 seasons. it became a serialized, very like episode, and the Enterprise kept its battle damage, and every time the new episode came, it was just getting rougher and rougher. I really enjoyed that series, that season in particular. I didn't like season 4, and I wasn't a huge fan of like the first 2 seasons, but season 3 had me hands down. I thought it was a great season. I'd watch that again right now.
Yeah, that was another one. Now that season aired, they were starting to take cues from Battlestar Galactica, which was the reboot, which was airing at the same time. And Battlestar Galactica was straight up serialized.
Yeah.
It was, okay, you had to see it every week or you were missing out on what was going on. So Star Trek finally, I mean, this was, you're talking probably 6-7 years after Deep Space Nine at this point, or maybe not that.
No,
but
not that far.
But like 5 or 6 probably. But Star Trek was starting to see this very serialized approach was working for science fiction shows. Also, Lost was airing at this time, another science fiction program that was incredibly serialized. So I think Star Trek was like, hey, look, we may be missing the boat here. We need to have a season-wide story arc that deals with this war. And I thought it was good too. I thought it was very entertaining. That wasn't the Xindi are another, I mean, not a race, because there were multiple races.
Right.
They had like whale people, I think, and then they had like lizard people.
Yeah.
And there were some people who were like all CG. And I can't remember.
The Xindi wound up as a people being manipulated by like one of the people in the temporal war.
There was
whichever one was pulling the strings, but it was fascinating. And then season 4 kind of took a dip, and it just wasn't the show that season 3 was, I thought.
I think I might hate that finale more than almost any other.
What, the Enterprise finale?
Yes.
Well, listen, I think
so much.
I like season 4 just because it's the first time that show really embraced the fact that it was a prequel to the original show. They had a really fun episodes that took place in the Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
Where they were on a Constitution class 1960s version of the Enterprise. And I thought all that stuff was a lot of fun. But yes, the finale is famous because, and for those who don't know this,
that's the real villain here. Is that finale?
Yeah, the finale of Enterprise was essentially a lost episode of The Next Generation, where the entire episode is one of Riker's holodeck programs. And so Riker's going around interacting with these people, and it's all told from his point of view, not the people who've been on the show for 4 years and this is their last chance. No, this is going to be a Riker and Troy episode, and you all are going to be on a holodeck.
It's so bad. A lot of people listening are going to be too young. Lindsay, you might be too young to know, but there was a show in the 80s called St. Elsewhere that pulled that same routine. And do you know what I'm talking about, Lindsay?
No.
So the whole show,
You're correct to assume that I did not.
I didn't watch it. It was a very popular show with like my parents and like other people's parents. And it was like a San Francisco, like police drama kind of like show that you turn on prime time. And it turned out at the very end of how many seasons they had, their show finale turns out that the whole show took place in the mind of an autistic boy who was looking at a snow globe the whole time.
Goodness.
Yes.
So it's like infamous for like being a benchmark of like how bad show finales can be.
Yes, I remember that. It's also similar to the Bobby in the shower in Dallas. A whole season of that show was a dream.
Oh, right. Exactly.
Because they didn't want to kill off Bobby and they didn't know how to bring him back. So
just make it a dream.
It's just a dream. So
if you're bored,
Goodness.
YouTube the St. Elsewhere's finale. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh, man.
It's pretty awful.
But yeah, the finale of Enterprise was, Frakes says that the set was so uncomfortable because there was just so much animosity coming from the regulars.
Man, I'm
and
sure.
Actually the Blu-rays that were released of Enterprise, they are worth the money for the documentaries alone, because those documentaries on those discs, are extremely frank in the assessment of the final episode. They were like, yes, we made a mistake. It was a huge miscalculation. So that's a very interesting story in itself. But yes, Matt, the Zindi. I'm going to take some low-hanging fruit here. And I'm going to say one of my favorite villains is Q. I always enjoyed Q.
But is he a villain?
Well, sort of.
He's just there to help.
I kind of...
Antagonist.
Antagonist is a good word.
Yes. I mean, he's there trying to push John Luke in the right direction. And I always found his appearances to be entertaining. I think John Delancey always played him, in a very, a way that was meant to be more funny than really menacing. Mm-hmm. But he certainly could be menacing. I mean, in one of Q's, I think the second season appearance of The Next Generation, it's because of Q that the Enterprise encounters the Borg for the first time. Mm-hmm. And Q did that to say, hey, you guys don't know anything. Okay, you think you've got everything under control. These people out here are going to wipe you out. And I just wanted you to see them. It's going to be a few years, but they'll eventually kill you all. But here, I'll move you back to your place now. So just so you know that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. I talked to Lindsay. Lindsay's like my Star Trek therapist at work. I'm really working my way through the second season of Picard. But one of the high points for me so far, because John Delancey reprises his role as Q, and there is a very amusing thing in the first episode of that season where he shows up and he appears as he did in The Next Generation.
With
he
like
looks
the hat and all that.
No. He looks like young John Delancey.
All right.
And he sees Picard. And he's like, "Oh, you really? What happened to you?" And then he snaps his fingers and he ages to his current age. And he's like,
"That's smart."
And he goes, "Oh, okay. Now I'm caught up. I'm caught up now."
That's smart. I like that.
So it's kind of a dig at John Luke, and also a practical way that they don't have to de-age him every episode.
Very smart.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I always thought Q was an interesting addition, and he did pop up again in Deep Space Nine and Voyager. But
Got punched by Cisco, was in love with Janeway.
He was in love with?
He was just indoor. I don't know.
Well, Troy's mom really hit on him too. Remember Luxwana?
Oh yeah,
Luxana. She was in that episode of Deep Space Nine, I think. I don't know.
I
don't remember that.
I hated that character.
You hated Luxana? Oh no!
God.
I mean, she's. I liked the episode with Odo where she like becomes a little more normal.
Oh,
when they're stuck in the elevator together.
And he starts to decompose.
Yeah, and she's like very like kind to him and like not crazy.
Well, yeah, when I was, when these Next Generation episodes were airing, I was 16, 15, 16, and I was like, "Oh, Luxwana, I don't like this. What is this?" So I sort of rolled my eyes, but
I think she's written to be kind of.
Oh, she absolutely was written to be annoying, and but. Anyway, so I'm going to pick Q for one of my villains. I like.
Nice. Well,
looks like
Borg has delivered their newest drone.
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike has joined the party.
Briefly, I thought I'd say hi.
Hi, how you feeling?
Hello.
I'm all right.
Mike, this is Lindsay.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Oh,
the left side of my face is numb.
Oh, let's see it.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
He already showed us a picture.
Oh, that's amazing.
Damn.
Oh, that's amazing. Good job.
We can't see it. Yeah, we can't. Oh gosh, that looks like you were attacked by a creature.
It's like a bear got you. God, it's like what's that movie with Leo DiCaprio and the bear?
Oh, the Revenant.
Reverend. God, it looks like the Reverend just.
I felt like Tony when they took the tube out for the draining. I felt like Tony Stark and Iron Man.
Oh,
it out his nose, but it was
pulling out his. Oh gosh. Okay, so Mike, before you leave us, just drop us what your favorite Star Trek villain is.
Oh, well, I mean, I can go with the standard Khan, of course, because Ricardo Montalban.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
He's
Mm-hmm.
perfect in every
Incredible.
way.
Amazing.
So good.
If I was to go off, I don't know if he's really a villain, but was it Trelane? Is that how you said his name?
Yeah. Trelane,
Oh, we were just talking about Q.
which is basically kind of like they're assumed they're in the same kind of like
Trelane
species, right?
Trelane was fun, but Charlie X was
Charlie.
was probably the best. Aside from Khan,
stay.
with the thing with his eyes.
The faceless dude walking in the hall.
The girl.
The girl.
Now-
The worst.
The horrible scream.
Now, Lindsay, I don't know if you know who Charlie X is.
I did not. Is this from the original
Yes.
series? I've only watched a handful of original. I know that's a bad.
Well, Charlie X is one
but-
you have to watch
That's a good one.
if you haven't seen it.
Yes, it's
Which one is it?
it's
Do you know? I feel like you
no,
know.
it's the episode is just called Charlie X.
Okay, thank you.
It's season
And-
one.
Season
It's
one
early in the
of
show.
I
and,
tried to like go back and watch once I was like an older Star Trek fan and it was all available to stream. I was like, I'm gonna go back and watch the original series, and the pilot was awesome, and I was like, this is cool. And then it just got a little harder for me to watch them.
I have to end this call now.
I'm so sorry. It's just yeah.
Well, I think it's different if since we like grew up watching those.
Yes, that
and,
was our Star Wars.
and it's definitely it's definitely from a different era, but they do have, the remastered ones available, which are a little more, they've updated the visual effects.
It's cool. It's pretty
and
cool.
it's a neat experiment. So
Yeah.
The pilot looks. I did watch the pilot, which doesn't have
Which
Kirk obviously
pilot?
in it at all. The one without Kirk, the one with Captain Pike
Yeah,
and
that's a really great episode.
and
The kid-
what is it? Michelle Barrett? Is that?
Yeah.
Majel Barrett.
Major Barrett, who
Majel Barrett. Whoops.
became what's her name?
Lwaxana, but also
Yes.
number one in that episode. And I think I was like, I was like, and then I later learned like they basically were like, you can have the weird alien guy, or you can have a woman as your first officer. You can't have both. And so they got rid of her, and I knew that, and I was like,
her voice
But
is
also-
on the Next Generation, the computer.
Mhm.
And in the original series, she was a
Yeah,
computer.
yeah.
But also
I think
they
she's all the
didn't-
way up till DS9 is the computer.
But they didn't want her because they didn't like her
Yeah.
too. They genuinely didn't like her.
They
because
were-
She was Gene Roddenberry's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
So they were
stuck her
like,
in with the blonde wig, and someone noticed. They went, "Hey, that's just his girlfriend with a blonde wig on."
but by then she'd already filmed like 3 episodes or something. So they were like,
Oh.
Roddenberry was always trying to, hey,
Sneak her
put a
in.
wig on her.
Yeah,
You'll never know.
But yeah, The Cage is a great episode.
it really is. It's really well written.
So is your face swollen?
Oh yeah,
I'm trying-
it is. I look like I almost like have like a Klingon stripe on the side of my neck.
You know what's interesting?
Yeah.
It's funny, Mike. I'm not making fun because it's almost perfect timing that you came in when you did and you look like you do, because I was about to mention an episode in the Next Generation, which I thought, and I think was supposed to be an introduction to the Borg, but they never quite connected those two dots together, where there was an infiltration in the Federation.
Oh yes.
And they had like those little bugs that were like getting in people and stuff.
Oh, did that have Ronnie Cox in it?
So-
No, that was a different one.
Okay.
Not Ronnie Cox.
This is the one where at the end they phase the guy's head and it explodes in a pretty
Oh
graphic
yeah.
way.
Oh my God. Yes.
And-
I think
It's
I've
so
seen that one
graphic.
time.
But when
Yeah.
they're sitting at the table and the admiral lets the bug go down his throat and his throat bulges out, it kind of looks like you right now.
No, thank you.
Yeah, in a good Star Trek spirited kind of way.
Yeah.
No, we're
But,
keeping an
but-
eye on it now.
but
We're
that
afraid it might be
episode,
effective.
I remember watching that episode thinking, man, this is great. I hope I see more, or they tell me more about what happens and what that's about, because it ends with the beacon going out in deep space.
yes.
Oh, was
which-
it something they never followed up on?
They never once,
No.
but I think there are theories that that's supposed to be a Borg, like they work for the Borg, but I don't know if that was ever canon or not.
Well,
But
the Next Generation, I do own the entire series on Blu-ray, and I plan on diving into that after I finish my original series deep dive.
Yeah. So Mike is very OCD when it comes to consuming his his franchises. Like every few years, he will just start at the beginning and say, "Okay, I'm going to watch Star Trek all the way through, and this time I'm watching all 975 hours of it."
Man.
And right now he's doing this with Star Wars, also leading up to Kenobi.
Yeah, it's tough.
Oh wow.
My Star Trek,
But
and
it's
my Star
it's
Wars.
all right. It's like you're doing like
He's doing Clone Wars,
and everything.
And
Rebels
I'm also doing Snyderverse. So I did
Oh,
that the past couple days.
So you got time though, because you're recovering, and
Yeah.
so you can. Did you watch the new Star Trek director's cut of motion picture?
No, I need to. I'm waiting until I can watch it at night and when no one's around. Because when I
Okay.
watch TV during the day, I got a glare from the windows and it makes me nuts.
Okay. Well,
So,
yeah, it's
but I
one to-
need to before my 7-day trial is up.
Yeah. Oh man. Well,
Anyway, I'm going to sign
Okay.
off. We're going to go watch a Moon Knight.
okay. Moon.
So
I
nice
haven't.
meeting you, Lindsay, and
Nice to meet you.
I'll talk
Yeah,
to
we-
you on the flip
resistance
side.
is futile.
That's
Okay.
right.
Stop.
Next time
All right.
you see me, I should have a few more appendages. on
Okay.
me.
We'll go eat a giant bug, space
Okay.
bug. All right. See you.
Bye.
All right, everybody. We had an appearance by Mike there. He looked okay, I guess, as okay as he can.
Aw.
Rough.
Oh, but yeah, anyway, so I just finished up with Q. So Lindsay, we're going to go back to you now. What do you got?
I was trying to think of any Voyager villains that I liked, and obviously they kind of steal the Borg. They're like, people really like Borg, and we're kind of losing them. Let's get the Borg in here. And it is really good. Like the Borg are good in Voyager.
That's what kind of brought me back to Voyager, because I knew that they were introducing the Borg again.
Mm-hmm. And they get 7 in there, like a deprogrammed Borg, and it's really great.
Yeah.
So what I was telling Jared, I was like, there was this one, it's just a one-off episode villain, but it's the weirdest. I've actually been listening to a Star Trek episodic podcast, like a different one that goes over Voyager. And when they started talking about this one, I was like, oh my God, it like flashed me back to being a kid and like being so freaked out by this, even though now it's like, it's just kind of weird.
Which one was it?
Scary. But it's the one where they go to this planet and all these people are being preserved, like in like stasis, but their minds need to be active, so they're all in this virtual reality together, and like the thing that's in there designed to keep them like alive goes crazy and starts torturing all of them. And he's like a jester or a clown or something. I forget what he looked like, but he's like a crazy clown AI that just never lets anyone sleep.
Oh,
He just tortures them, that just like to experience their fear and their pain. And the Voyager crew gets in there, and basically Janeway like outsmarts him because she's badass. But I just remember thinking like, she like makes him feel the fear that he's been making other people feel, and it like corrupts him. Yes, that guy. Look at him. Oh my God, I forgot it was played by that guy. Who is that?
you know how that looks like? That looks like from Bill and
Oh my
Ted's.
It's
What?
that's oh my God.
Oh, it looks like the robot.
My name is Dennis Caleb McCoy, and I just want to say that
I am Dennis Caleb McCoy.
It's that actor.
Caleb
What?
McCoy.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to find. He's played by. Hang on, it popped it up here. He's played by Michael McKean
Yes.
from Better Call Saul and
Yes.
everything else.
Oh wait, put that back up. Let me see that.
I didn't remember that was him until you held that picture up. That's why
Yeah.
I think it's so memorable, because
Oh, of course
a-
it is. Yeah, you see it
it's
now.
a
Yeah.
weird it's just a weird one-off, but he does such a good job of like being truly creepy. And like it's like very affected me. I was like, this would be so scary to never be able to sleep and just be like constantly in this weird clown.
Well, he's a good actor, Michael
It's
McKean.
really good. So yeah, that was
that's-
what I thought of today.
I don't think I've ever seen that episode, but
It's
yeah, I'm
it's
intrigued
really
now. I'm intrigued now. Matt, where are you going to take us?
I think the Klingons are an amazing part of Star Trek. Definitely one of the if the Klingons didn't exist, the show would never have been nearly as cool as it was. And what's so great about the Klingons is that even though they're the true antithesis of like the Federation in terms of what they stand for and how they act, etc.
Mhm.
You know, the show does a great job of weaving in like the good into the bad, into the, you know, the Klingons. So, but that said, I think Kruge is Christopher Lloyd's
Oh yeah.
is probably one of my, next to Khan in the movies. I think he's my second favorite villain.
Yeah.
And he's so good. That might be one of Christopher Lloyd's best roles. Next to Back to the
What a
Future,
gem.
I don't think
What
that
a
there's
gem he is.
anything better than that.
Yeah, he's great in Star Trek 3. He's so slimy, and he just, one of my favorite lines is he goes, he goes, beam the Vulcan up and we'll talk. Kirk's talking to him, and he goes, no. Well, why? Because you wish it. And
so good.
and he's like, you fool, look at this place, it's destroying itself. And he goes, yes, exhilarating, isn't it?
It's amazing. He's so good. And who would have thought that someone who came from like a true comedic background in his roles that he's picked could pull that role off with such seriousness? I mean, it was amazing. It's just a testament to him as an actor.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he's speaking in Klingon, and they've got Savick and David together, and he very flippantly just says, kill one of them.
Istachbe.
He goes to Tachbe, and he's like, he shrugs his shoulders. He's like, I don't care which.
I don't care.
And it's very chilling. And then of course, you know, they kill David, and you have probably one of Shatner's finest moments of acting when he, you know, when he like, you know, he falls down, he trips on the bridge, and he's like starts to cry. It's pretty heartbreaking.
It's amazing. The thing about all the performances in that movie with Klingons in general, it's the first time in Star Trek that we actually got to hear the Klingon language that didn't sound like a bunch of like bears growling at each other. Because when we saw them briefly in the motion picture, it was very, you know, animalistic, and it wasn't very like articulate. And we get to this movie, and it's very smooth, and you can hear it, and it's like a rich language that they put together for this movie, really.
Yeah, this was the first time the Klingon language developed by Mark Orkrand.
I bought the book.
I do too. It's on my shelf somewhere.
Did you hear the story of the linguist or whoever who knew Klingon, and he tried to raise his kid speaking Klingon?
Oh my God.
And it like did not go well.
Go figure. That's amazing. You can't use it anywhere.
I feel like I need to like verify that.
Well, but Star Trek 3 was the first time that this guy who had created the language, that's the first time they used it. And in the first movie, the language was developed for the motion picture by who?
I don't know.
James Doohan, the guy who played Scott.
Really? Was he doing Gaelic?
Him and Mark Leonard got together, and they just figured out, Mark Leonard, who played Sarek and also played the Klingon commander in that movie. They just said, okay, these words mean this. And it was very, there was no sentences. It was just like, you know, they just say like two things and like bark it out. Like
now, that said, they did. What's the guy's name who did the language, who built it out? Do you know?
Mark Okrand.
That guy he actually took those little few barking lines and put the whole language in that genre. I mean, those lines define the language later on, because it was only like 10 seconds of Klingon, maybe 5 seconds of them talking. But those sounds was the first time we heard Klingon sounds like that. And then he made the whole language sound like that. And it was amazing. And to see like, you know, Christopher Lloyd just spouting in Klingon with great subtitles, it was enriching. The movie was from the start. Oh my God, when they pull up onto that cargo ship and it's nothing but like they're about to wreck this thing, and it's all in Klingon coming at you. It's fantastic. It's so good. If that had been in English, it wouldn't nearly been as heavy as it was.
Yeah.
Well, Jared and I saw that in the theater, not together, of course.
I don't believe you were born when that movie came out.
I've seen 1 through 4.
Oh, Lindsay.
You haven't seen Undiscovered Country?
No.
Oh
5?
my God.
No.
Well, 5 you have to watch just because
I have it. I just
5 is a unique watch, and it's like a one-off thing, and you're like, that was interesting. But there are some great moments in 5, great moments, and you got to pick those gems out of that turd. But Star Trek 6 next to Khan is the best movie of the bunch.
I think so. Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's really good. The Undiscovered Country.
It's phenomenal. It's very good.
Yeah, it's great stuff, and it's also a great Klingon movie because it involves the. It's an allegory about the Soviet Union falling, failing in the late 80s, in the early 90s. That was happening over there, and it was when the Soviets were coming to westernized countries for help, and it was an allegory that the Klingons have been brought low by this great disaster, and they were.
Don't even get into it.
No, I'm just saying.
Let me tell you.
I'm not ever gonna watch it. I think sometimes I do this too, where I know that once I watch a thing, I never get to go back to a time where I get to watch it for the first time. Does that make sense?
That's fair. I completely understand that.
I save stuff sometimes for that.
Let me give you some advice. Skip 5, go right to 6, because there's nothing that carries over from 5, and 5 is a true departure from the movies. And 6, it's a perfect restart for you in the movies from 4, because there's enough time that's gone by. Watch 5 at another date. You're in a good rhythm right now with the movies. Keep that good rhythm and
I had
6.
enough like Star Trek osmosis, being a fan, that I was like, well, I don't need to watch 5.
You don't need to watch 5, but you do need to watch 6. But you do need to watch 6. 6 is a must watch. It's the second best, if not tied. It's not. Khan is definitely the top. It's one of the best sci-fi movies ever made. But 6 is the second best in that series, to be sure.
Okay.
And it does have.
I do love the Klingons too. So
okay,
I love them.
And of course, you've seen the Next Generation episode with Spock, Unification, right? Where
that's right.
And I was about to spoil things.
No, they
about the new Star Trek. There's just that comes back around all the way into Discovery. Sorry.
Well. But for that episode of the Next Generation, Star Trek 6 is a lead-in to that, because they were coming out at the same time.
That makes sense.
So there is connective tissue.
There's a direct reference to that movie in that episode. Yeah.
So
I did see that episode of the original series, Con.
Oh yeah, well, good. Space Seed.
That one.
Space Seed's good.
That one.
Yeah,
so 6 is good. I've like 10 of those.
I'm glad that you mentioned that you didn't see that, because I was going to dive into some Undiscovered Country, but I'll skip it now because you got to watch that.
I mean, okay.
Oh, are you talking about?
Stop you. I don't want to stop you.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk. There's some good stuff in there, but
are you talking about Chang?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's good.
So we'll
skip Christopher Plummer. He was awesome. Okay, is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Holy crap!
Give a big one.
Well, Krug, you stole Krug from me.
Sorry, I had to.
Dang it. And now you put me on the spot here. I think I was going to talk about Star Trek 6 as well, but then
you guys could talk about it.
We can't.
We have to table that. And we talked about. Do we talk about the Borg?
No,
we did.
I think we're talking around the Borg.
Yeah, we're around.
Okay.
Right.
Well, let's just do the Borg here. I thought the Borg were fantastic, and I will say that the summer that episode aired were the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds.
Where Jean-Luc gets turned into Locutus, and it left on that cliffhanger. That was like the cliffhanger of cliffhangers. I mean, that was crazy. And you knew you're going to have to wait 3 or 4 long months before anything was resolved. And because when I was watching that, back in 1990, I think it aired, you're not programmed like you are now to expect the cliffhanger. We've watched so many shows and even movies that just end on cliffhangers, and you're just like, okay, well, they're going to finish this later. But back then it was like, wait, that's where it stops.
What do you mean?
And
wait, no.
The great music and that great tracking shot on Steady that went right up to Riker's face.
Yeah, and he goes, fire.
So good. So good.
That was, it's really interesting that, they built it up. I mean, the episode just felt different from the other episodes. You knew it was like bigger. You felt like, man, this is like a little more important.
The music was different. The whole score of those two episodes was, especially the first part one, was much different. And they carried the Borg kind of like theme throughout whenever they showed up. But that was the first time that Borg music. I actually maybe when Q sent them there, maybe we heard a little tinge of it. But in Best of Both Worlds is where that music really just kind of like set the tone. And they showed up. I mean, they took a season off. I don't think they appeared in season 3 at all. They showed up in 2, then they showed up in season 4, and it's like, hey, we're here, and we're gonna, wipe the floor with you people. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially what happened. And when Jean-Luc was kidnapped, I remember I was watching this at my friend's house, and I was like, you just don't feel with Star Trek at that time. You didn't feel that sense of danger, like, oh well, they're gonna rescue him. I mean, it's Patrick Stewart. They're not killing him off. But then, like I said, the show ended, and you're like, what? And it's funny, the behind the scenes story of these episodes, the writer, who was the writer? I think his name was Michael Piller. And he was getting ready to leave the show. So he wrote this, and he's like, it's somebody else can figure this out. Yeah. I'm going to leave him on a high note, but they roped him back in, and he's like, oh crap. Well, then I have to clean up my own mess now. So by his own admission, he didn't think that the second part was that strong, just because when he conceived the story, he did not conceive it as a whole story. He conceived his part of the story. He's like, this is how I'm ending it. But then when he found out, hey, well, you have to bring this home, then he was like, oh, okay. And maybe it was a little anticlimactic when, Jean-Luc just comes out of sickbay and is like, oh, I have a little headache. And he has like a Band-Aid on his head. And you're like, well, didn't they remove chunks of his body? I mean, what? Mm-hmm. So, but, and
I think it's the victim of like not probably hearing like, you can't have it be a big thing because people are going to tune in next week and they're going to be like, why does he have robot parts still?
Well, funny thing there, the next episode to air after that was called Home, and he goes back to his house where his brother is running the vineyard.
It's a good episode.
And yes, and it actually deals with the events. Like Jean-Luc's on leave because the Enterprise is getting repaired, and he goes home and he's still dealing with this tremendous PTSD. And he has a great scene with the guy who plays his brother, and he just like breaks down. He's like, and talks about how he was violated and everything. And it was like a really great episode. And it was actually like the third part of a 2-part episode, because you really have to watch that episode because it's kind of the one that wraps everything up. But the Borg, though, are the thing about them that's terrifying is they're just like a bunch of Frankenstein monsters or mummies who are just walking around, and they don't, you can't reason with them, and you can kill them until they figure out how to adapt to your weapons. And then, I think they were really well represented in First Contact.
Well, let me throw a question out to you guys then.
Sure.
Okay. Because it's kind of, if you look at the internet, it's kind of a back and forth, very polarizing thing. So the Borg Queen,
yes,
right, that we see in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we didn't see a Borg Queen in the show, but we saw introduced in the movies. So do we like the Borg Queen or do we not like the Borg Queen? Because people were saying that the Queen kind of took the menacing part of what the Borg represented away and made it more about her as a central thing with the Borg versus like this, autonomous, menacing, unstoppable, assimilating thing that you just can't escape. It just sucks things in and
because
makes
they just one replaces another that's gone, and the Queen's a little less replaceable.
Yeah, and the Queen just gave it more of an individual personality versus the menacing, idea of what the Borg represented. So I actually enjoyed the Queen. I thought she was a pretty good character, but I'm not sure in deep thought about if I agree with her.
Well, I think obviously she was created for First Contact for the movie.
Right, of course.
So they're like, well, we have this movie. They felt, I think they had to change up the lore a little bit and say, and of course they put her in a flashback scene with locutus, so you're like, oh, she was there all the
Right.
time.
Right.
But you're right, she was never mentioned in the show. And they had many Borg episodes after Best of Both Worlds, and she was never part of the lore. They did have some interesting episodes, like with Hugh, who was a Borg that sort of found individuality. But I think the Queen I think it worked in First Contact. It's a concept they carried over into Voyager, I know. And there's actually a Borg Queen in Picard right now. But the Borg Queen is also something, it's like, they explain away her difference of appearance is like, I guess her memories are transferred to different individuals. So there's different queens, but they all have the same knowledge,
the same base programming in it.
Yes. So, it doesn't really bother me, but I do think just the Borg, the faceless Borg drones, which we see in the 5th century here, of course. I think those
they're
are
always in the laundromat. And I don't know why they don't have any clothes that they're washing. They just hang out. They're trying to assimilate the washer, and it never joins.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but I think I think the faceless, just sort of nameless drones that walk around just randomly kidnapping and assimilating people are probably the creepiest.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think in First Contact, and then their appearance in Voyager was really based on their appearance in First Contact. They had more money and they looked better. They looked creepier. There was, a lot of crap in their face. And
that movie really grew on me too, actually.
First Contact.
Yeah, I didn't love it at first, but like it's grown on me a lot. It's grown on me a lot.
I think it's probably one of the best Next Generation movies, if not the best. I mean, it's got action, and it's it gives that
some of my favorite music of the Next Generation.
Yes,
movies.
Jerry Goldsmith.
I think I always had, being such a big DS9 fan, had the trouble with the Next Gen movies at a point, because I was like, when did Worf come back? When? Who?
When the Defiant was destroyed, they beamed him back in.
He has a whole wife that he never talks about.
Well,
a whole child. He basically just says, I had lots of problems with Worf.
But I think in First Contact it worked because they established that Worf came in the Defiant.
They do name check it. You're right.
Well, they show the Defiant and Worf on the Defiant.
Visual check it. Yeah.
And so the Defiant gets disabled and Worf gets beamed to the Enterprise, and that's how they have their adventure.
That's a great scene too, isn't it? The Defiant's getting all just destroyed and worked over.
And he's like, perhaps today is a good day to die. I know, he's like, it is a good day to die.
You got the helmsman. He's like, oh, thank God the Enterprise is here. I'm not gonna get this crazy guy killing me. That's so good.
True.
To be assigned on Worf's ship. Oh God.
Yeah, they're like, oh crap.
Oh no.
I'm going. Yeah, everybody's like, I don't. Here's my will. Worf's going off on an exploration mission tomorrow. I don't think I'm coming back.
He's got a lot of like Klingon guilt. He's just trying to go out.
Man, but you're right. You're right. It's funny though. As the Next Generation movies went on, it just became more and more ridiculous. Because at that time, Michael Dorn was a cast member on Deep Space Nine.
Insane.
And they had to keep bringing him into the movies somehow. Like, I think in one of the movies, like he starts to explain to Picard while he's there, and then the camera just moves somewhere else. And it's like, well, you see, Captain, I was with a diplomatic blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess you're here now.
I don't think I ever picked up on that. I have to watch those again.
I think that was in Insurrection, when he just shows up and Picard's like, Wolf, what are you doing here? And
it's the same thing with Wesley. Like he gets like, I don't know, teleported to like some Q-like plane of existence or something to learn. I forget what happened.
Yeah, he goes off with the Traveler.
The Traveler. Yeah. And then he's just at Troy and Riker's wedding.
Yeah, well, he's done with his traveling.
He traveled back.
They don't.
It's okay. They don't have time for that. They're just like, okay.
Yeah.
So
you
anyway,
don't care. You just want him to be at the wedding. We know.
So we have okay, I just did the Borg. So this will be our last round robin here. So
know.
Lindsay, we're back to you.
I was trying to think. I feel like I guess we talked about Khan.
Well, we will talk about Khan.
I'll let you
I'm
guys
sure.
have Khan. I'm trying to. I couldn't honestly think of a single other good one.
You know what, though?
Voyager. I was going to say I did have one though that I landed on.
Okay.
And it's Kai Wynn.
Kai Wynn from Deep Space Nine. She is a
Bajoran.
Yes.
Who becomes like connives and schemes her like passive aggressive friendly way up to being like the Kai, which is like the head of the Bajoran religion, which is their religion is also like their government. So she becomes like the head of the government and the head of the religion, and she is bug nuts, crazy evil. And I love her because it's also she's played by that fantastic actress whose name I can't remember.
She was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nurse Ratched.
Oh, that's right. It was Nurse Ratched. I didn't put that together. You're right.
She's so good at being so like manipulative and terrible, and she's got that weird stuff with Dukat, and she really believes that she's like righteous, and then just gets the comeuppance.
That's a good one. I totally forgot about that character, but you're right. She was great in that role too.
She don't suspect her at the beginning of the show because she's just kind of there, and then by the end of the series, you're like, oh my god, this woman is responsible for most of the terrible things that are happening.
Yeah, she was good, and I remember feeling it was very strange when she started her, romance with Dukat. It was really odd. But that's a good one, and she's a good actress too. And Oscar, she won an Oscar. So Kai Wynn is a good one, and that's good because Deep Space Nine's getting some love here.
I have to bring my.
See, you got to bring the '90s Trek. Lindsay's bringing the '90s Trek. So I think me and Matt probably tied for first place here, so we can just talk about Khan, Noonien Singh.
I mean, was there ever a more perfect casted villain
than Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan?
Shut up.
Are we now?
I am
terrible.
Oh my gosh! You just cut out. Your mic just dropped.
That's how bad your mic said. We don't need it.
I don't believe it. I walk away from it too.
Yeah. That was a very strange chapter in Star Trek. But we're talking about Ricardo Montalban as Khan. Man, he's so
good.
He brought it too.
Sometimes it'll work. I'll just go, "This is SETI Alpha 5."
See,
really, how good is that scene though? How great is that first scene in the Botany Bay?
Yeah,
it's just so good.
Why are you here?
And you know what? I still claim in my own heart that Star Trek 2 is, in my opinion, the best sci-fi movie, if not one of the best. But for me, it's the best sci-fi movie ever made. And I think because it involves true science fiction. It's not like Star Wars. You can make arguments that there's fantasy involved and it's like a fantastical thing. But like Star Trek 2 is a true sci-fi, awesome action, great movie. It has everything that you want in sci-fi. It's got space, it's got spaceships, phasers, it's got aliens and bugs and weird crap all over the place. And it's still a great drama. It's still it's almost I wouldn't say a horror movie, but a suspense thriller, because like it is so well done. It's a perfect movie. It's an absolute perfect movie. I hate it.
It does the thing. It has a lot of good science too, which I think is important for sci-fi to make it not too super Star Warsy, more on the sci-fi side. And it does one thing that I love that is such a pet peeve in a bunch, even really great science fiction movies that I love, where spaceship battles happen in 3 dimensions instead of 2.
Good point. Very good.
Drives me nuts when spaceships fight like this, pointing at each other instead of in 3-dimensional, 3-axis space.
He's intelligent, but not experienced.
Yes.
The whole fight with their 2 ships in the nebula, where they're like on top of each other and they're passing each other and they don't know.
Yeah, smart. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's what you would do in space.
Doesn't Spock say
2-dimensional thinking?
2-dimensional thinking.
Yes.
He's intelligent, but not experienced.
One of my favorite scenes of that movie is when Spock, when they hit the button and their shields start to go down, and the helmsman's like, our shields are dropping. And Khan's like, raise them. He goes, I can't.
Oh, it's so perfectly paced. The music, the buildup, everything. It's such a great movie. It's so good. And they did try to recapture a lot of that kind of like pacing in Star Trek 3 with the standoff between the Enterprise and the Bird of Prey, which they did a great job too. I'm not going to take anything away from that fight scene, but that truly was riding the coattails of Khan and Kirk first meeting up. And it's just, as a kid, you watch that and you just explode your mind when those shields start to drop and they get the prefix code in and he hits that first fire.
Yeah. He goes, and like Kirk's like looking up at his glasses. He goes, here it comes. And he goes, because he's wanting the coordinates to Genesis, but that's when they drop their shields. Oh. And it's interesting that Montalban and Shatner never shared the stage in that film. They were always on the view screen. So they didn't meet each other until after the movie was shot.
And each bridge is the same bridge, just reconfigured for the shots.
Yeah, the Reliance Bridge and the Enterprise Bridge was the same set. But it's, yeah. And then, of course, Khan is just, he's so, operatic and dramatic, and he's always
ridiculous.
Yes,
so good.
Especially
so
and he's got the eels, the SETI eels they put in your, man, when I was a kid, that you could get that right out of my face. I was not, I couldn't, I'd look at the floor when that scene came on, because it was like, these things going into your ear, and
these are pets, of course. So good.
Not quite domesticated. But yeah, and then of course, you have the Spock's death scene, which is great. And
which, pause on that, it always I think we talked about this before. So I had the cassette of the soundtrack, and I would play this like all the time. I loved the score from this movie, but it always bothered me that Amazing Grace was not on the soundtrack that they did from that movie.
Oh, with the bagpipes?
The bagpipes, because like you listen to start to finish of the soundtrack, and it, in your head, you go into the movie, and then you come to the end of Spock's death scene, and you don't have the bagpipes. You're like, you know what?
Yeah. All those. Yeah. But there are many great versions of that soundtrack now available on CD and digitally, which are complete.
Yeah, I have it. I have a few.
And complete with Nimoy's narration at the end. Space, the final frontier. Yeah, it's great.
Aww,
so
that was a great impression.
Space.
It made me go, I was like, that's sad he was dead. That's how good it was.
Oh man, what I did when the day I found out that Leonard Nimoy died, I was at my job, and of course I was on Facebook when I probably should not have been. But I noticed like two of my friends had changed their profile pictures to Leonard Nimoy. And I was like, oh, what's this?
No.
And then I just went over to a news site and I saw that he had passed away. And I was like genuinely like upset. I was like, man, that hurts. I mean, that's like, that's like Han Solo. That'd be like Harrison Ford dying for me. And it was like, man. And so I got in my car on my drive home that day and listened to Star Trek 2. And holy crap. I know, it's like, what am I doing to myself? It's like, this is truly sad. And then me and my wife were out driving around later that day, and I put in the track called Spock Dies, and she started crying. So I was like, this is great. This is great. But anyway, Khan's responsible for that vicious 20th century supervillain.
I think real quick before we go, we should do an honorable mention. I think, since we're
sure.
What about the Klingon commander from the Star Trek Experience?
Oh no! Are you talking about the guy in the video?
Yeah. Is that the thing where you could go and be on the bridge and they film you and give you the tape? I am so mad that I never got to do that.
I got to do it. I you know what? I'm going to tell a horrible. So I always thought it was lost. I thought it was lost. This tape was like mysteriously gone. I had it in a box the whole time. And before I moved to New York, it was in my garage in Florida. And that garage got devastated by humidity. And it wasn't until I moved where I'm cleaning out stuff that I found it. And I'm like, I carried it with me for like all my life. And I didn't know it was in the garage. but Jared survives. That's all that matters.
Lindsay, I will be sending you a YouTube link shortly.
It's so good.
I've seen
It does have several
not
hundred.
the whole video.
It has several hundred views on YouTube, so I'm pretty famous. It is terrible. My friends and I, when we made the video, it was the summer of '93, and Street Fighter 2 was all the rage. And I don't know if you've played Street Fighter 2.
I did play Street Fighter 2.
Okay, you know about the noise. It's like Juke, Juke.
Yep.
You know,
They must have hated you.
so me and my friends decided it would be great to do most of the dialogue as Street Fighter 2
Oh
noises.
no.
And so we it's bad.
I'm so excited that this exists for me to watch.
I really don't. They must have absolutely hated you in that control room.
I remember it was this
Oh my god, to have that job. Oh my god.
so we got to dress up in like the big maroon the
Star
movie
Trek
era
2, yeah.
uniforms, like with the jackets. We got to wear the jackets.
It had the collar,
There's
that
jealous.
turtleneck.
There's so many things I'm jealous of, like that, because I was just like a little bit too late in terms of my age to get to do any of this stuff. There was like the real Corks Bar in Vegas.
Which
that was
I went-
amazing. That was
I went to that.
great. I went to that once.
You know what?
Sorry, you didn't.
That was a
get to go.
great. That was. I had my Romulan ale there. I was very happy to get that.
Apparently they just had like they turned a bar into 10 Forward in LA. And I
Yes.
sold tickets to that, and I was like, I want to fly to LA for this.
Well, I'll tell you, the closest you can get, which it's not Star Trek, but I had gone to Space 220 in Epcot, a new restaurant.
Jared was just talking to me about this.
Oh my! I tell you, it is the next best thing to go into a Star Trek immersion place, because you feel like you're in space, and it's amazing. You got to go.
So excited! I'm going.
Plug.
I'm going hopefully in January.
And since I just kindly plugged it, Epcot will give me life passes whenever I want to go. Thank you, Epcot and Disney.
That's not true. But if you want to, Disney, please, you can give us passes.
But yeah, that Corks Bar was great in Vegas back in the day. It's Star Trek Experience or whatever they called it. It was it Universal, I guess, back in the day. Was
oh man,
it was at Universal Studios Florida.
It was so good. It was so
I
bad.
did get to like hang out on the bridge of the oh my god, Jared.
That's it.
Oh my god.
Yes, it's waiting for you on your text messages.
Oh my god.
It's terrible.
I can't wait. I did get to hang out on like a full replica of the original series bridge for like 45 minutes, just me and my sister by ourselves, and just hang out on it they had the museum at NASA.
They had it at Kennedy.
Nobody went. Yeah, that's
really.
It was a Kennedy Space Center. Lindsay told me about this. I had no idea.
Was it always there?
It was there for a couple months.
It was a traveling expedition.
Man, that's so cool.
And no one was there.
Did you have pictures of that?
I do have pictures of that. I have
that's
like
awesome.
500 pictures.
Wow,
that's awesome.
That's very cool. Like the actual original series bridge.
They had the original series bridge. They also had the what's the gate? The Edge of Forever, City on the Edge of Forever.
The Guardian of Forever.
The Guardian of they had that full size replica of that you could step through.
Look, Matt's frozen. Look at him.
Oh.
He looks like he's sleeping.
I thought he was getting like really zen about.
Oh no! Wait, now he's going to catch up. Matt,
hey,
can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm back.
Hey,
Zoom.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so
we don't typically record on Zoom, but we'll just have fun with it.
But yeah, the villain from this ridiculous video, Lindsay, you'll see it soon.
Oh boy,
so good.
This guy is so over his name is Crawl.
That's what it was.
Crawl, CRAWL.
No, it's like I think it's KRALL.
Okay, so here's your homework. Okay, and this doesn't have to be done tonight or anytime soon, but watch Jared's video.
I'm watching it right now.
And when you're done with it, down the way, watch Star Trek 5, and you will see that the commander of Star Trek 5 and the commander in this video are very similar. But Lindsay, I want to thank you for joining us on this podcast today, our Star Trek super fan. And you know, it's funny. I was just telling Jared and Mike the other day that I want to do a separate episode on Star Trek 3 sometime, which you're more than welcome to participate in.
That. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
like that's great because we can all watch Star Trek 3, get it fresh in our brains, and then we come to the table, Lindsay with the Star Trek superfan cred, and we would have a great conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like
and
I
there's so
can't-
many good moments in that movie from like start to finish. So you're more than welcome to join us on that Star Trek 3 retrospective. But until then, guys, we are almost done with season 5. Season 5 is coming to a roaring end.
Yes, it
And,
is.
there's just a few episodes left.
Yeah. We're going to be done in April, and then we pick up with the Kenobi Chronicles in May. And Lindsay, you just might have to come back for some Kenobi Chronicles as well.
I can't
absolutely.
wait for Kenobi.
Um,
Love to.
So anyway, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week on the Hyperspace.
You know you can't live without this content, so subscribe to The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us here next time as we take you into the 25th century.